Good morning, Hunt County. No, your eyes are not deceiving you, and this is not Ashley in a Halloween costume. This is Tracy Hammonds at Home Texas Real Estate filling in for Ashley this morning on the Monday Market Update. I have a special guest host with me today, Mr. Derek Price. We're actually sitting in his studio right now shooting this show like we do every Monday. Derek, when I met you, the name of your company was Green Shoot Media. You made a commercial for us. In fact, I called you, and I remember I was driving home from work one day, and I was just kind of telling you about the vision in my head, and you assured me we could get there. And man, honestly, still to this day, when I watch that commercial, it like gets me. Like it's just perfect. It gets to me. I've got you up here at Celebrate Hunt County or Celebrate Media Group. Tell us about the transition from Green Shoot Media and what what got you to Celebrate Hunt County, and more about what you do.
Sure. Well, it kind of all dates back to when I was a kid, and I was about 14 years old, and I started working for my local newspaper in the editorial department.
Okay.
And I also started the public access TV channel at my high school.
Okay.
So I literally knocked on the door at the cable manager's office and said, "How do you start a TV channel?" And then I knocked on the door at the superintendent's office and said, "Hey, here's how you start a TV channel. Do you want to do this at the school system?" And so I kind of started up they started a class for it, and we had channel 55 on cable, and so I did both things when I was a kid, doing newspaper stuff and video stuff. I ended up starting a company in the newspaper world called Green Shoot Media that's still around. It's still the biggest way we feed our kids, actually, is we sell content to hundreds and hundreds of papers all over the country. And because I wanted to diversify, get away from just newspapers only, we wanted to keep doing that, but add something else. I got back to that kind of childhood love of video production. And so we started initially under the same Green Shoot banner, and then we launched Celebrate Hunt County, which is probably locally what the main thing is we're known for, and changed the name of the video side of our business to Celebrate Media Group. And now we make videos for all kinds of companies. We go all over the state. Danny was in Austin a bunch of time a couple of weeks ago, basically lived down there shooting in Austin and San Antonio for us. And we help anybody who needs video marketing.
Well, you're a hobby pilot, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I love flying.
So I know that that kind of feeds into your hobby too. You get to, I know you fly to Austin. I think I've heard that you've flown to San Antonio a few times. So I know that's gotta be great when your job and your hobby can kind of meet and help you explore some of that. Celebrate Hunt County is something unlike I had ever seen on TV or anything like that before. Tell us about how you conceived of, what the premise of Celebrate Hunt County is. Maybe tell us more about, for anybody who's never seen Celebrate Hunt County, what is Celebrate Hunt County?
So Celebrate Hunt County, the idea goes back to when I was a kid. I watched this TV show called Texas Country Reporter.
Yes.
That my parents and grandparents just loved. I think it might still be on the air now. And this guy would drive around Texas and tell these heartwarming, homespun stories about small town people doing really, really cool, uplifting things. And I thought, you know what? I've got a journalism background, I've got a video background. Let's kind of marry these two worlds and use video storytelling to tell uplifting stories. And it's not like television length. That's a lot shorter. It's 4 or 5 minutes typically, which is very short by TV standards, but very long by internet standards. So every week we send a very talented video crew out, Deanna and Tiffany, and they have people sit down and they tell their own story in their own words. So it's not a host filtering it. It's literally people sit down and they just tell their story. And we go in and film what they do, and we've told some really, really cool stories, and it's turned out to be a really popular thing. And you're our top sponsor on it now at Home Texas Real Estate. We're so thankful for that, because it's an expensive thing to do.
I can imagine.
There is tons and tons of time that goes into this, and to do it well, to do video production well is a very time-consuming thing. So we've got sponsors that pay the bills, and we're able to put out a really high-quality program. And I was honest with you up front. I didn't know if people were going to watch it or not.
Right.
We didn't know what the numbers were going to be.
But the numbers are huge.
They're huge, yeah. Typically, it's like 20 to 30,000 views for an average episode. Some are a little lower, some are a little higher. But in a town with 30,000 people, Greenville has about 30,000.
What more could you ask for, man?
Right. It's really, really popular. And it's kind of fun. I'll wear my Celebrate logo hat, Celebrate shirt when I go to the grocery store. Right. And people stop me and they say, "Oh, I saw that episode about so-and-so. It was fantastic."
Phenomenal.
So it's got really, really good market penetration, and it's turned out to be a very popular thing. But even even if it wasn't a popular thing, it feels good to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
You know, just the idea that we can tell the many, many great stories from people doing uplifting, positive things all around us. And we've kind of shied away against, you know, we don't want to do the popular people that everybody already knows.
Everybody already knows, right?
Yeah, that was one of my fears up front, is we would only do the people who go to all the Chamber of Commerce events and are very out there already. Right. But most of the episodes, I've never heard of these people before. You know, never met them before, and
I've seen and known a few, but not a lot.
Right. It's really, really cool. And these people who I've never met are doing just amazing things. This past episode was about a lady, I think she's 96 years old and still cleans her church. Super energetic and vivacious and just a great, great personality. And taking somebody like that and putting them more or less on a pedestal, put them in the spotlight, let an ordinary person tell their really, really extraordinary story, and it's a fun thing.
It is a fun thing. I know I'll never forget the day you pitched it to me to be a sponsor. I wasn't able to take your top sponsorship right away. It was already taken, but you told me about what Celebrate Hunt County was going to be, and there's just going to be this positive message about local people, and I couldn't wait to be a part of it. I didn't even have to wait or ask Ashley. I said, let's just do it. We want it. Because all I could think about when you were pitching this to me on the couch was all of the things that I was seeing on TV at the time. And really that hasn't changed much. There's not a lot of positive, uplifting stories on TV, except for maybe the Texas Country Reporter and other similar shows, but those are not real popular.
And same thing on social media
right.
in general. You know, it thrives on Facebook. That's where pretty much
Absolutely.
all the traffic is on Facebook. And that's a place that for me personally, for a while it was so negative all the politics. And I'm somebody who can get along with anybody, regardless
right.
of their politics. Some of us, we sit in these silos, and
well, even if you look at just like one of the groups I'm on Facebook is just Greenville, Texas, and you just look at maybe not the post itself, but all of the comments, there are a lot of varying opinions, and some of those are very strong one way or the other, and it's not necessarily political, but it's not really a positive conversation that's happening. And I think that Celebrate Hunt County really shakes that up and really shows us positive things, like you said, that are happening with local people. And man, I love it, and I hope that you guys continue doing that. I hope there's not an end in sight. I love the stories. I love being a part of it, and I just love to see that positive message being spun right here locally. And I can't imagine that there aren't other people in other markets going, man, look at what they're doing. You've got to be on the roadmap. I guarantee you.
There's got to be potential in other places.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate you doing this for us every week. And you know, if you watch the opener of our show and the commercial that we're about to see, all these things are done right here with local people through your office. And I want to make sure that everybody out there knows that there is just a whole host of things that you can do. I mean, if you need a short commercial, if you need a long commercial, if you need anything video-wise, I know this guy can do it, and his team. I mean, you guys are so great at it. Tell me, is there something I'm missing that you guys can do that we haven't really talked about?
Well, just about anything video-wise. We can do live events, you know, like the Greenville High School graduation. We'll do that, and we can.
Y'all did the parade, even though it was raining a little bit.
Yeah, we filmed the parade. Yep, that was kind of a washout this past year, but it was still fun seeing people get out and about for the 4th of July after missing it the previous year.
And don't be nervous, man. I know when you think about having somebody shoot videography, I mean, automatically we see $5 signs in our head, and it's really not that. It is expensive, it is time consuming, but I'll tell you what, if you just call Derek and work with him, you'll be surprised about what the price is. I mean, it's a local price. It's not a Dallas price.
Sure, yeah, it helps because we're right here in town. It's easy. Right. We don't have to travel. A lot of our projects, we have to price in all the hotel rooms and gas and extra time to get there.
Right.
But right around Greenville, it's a pretty affordable thing. And some people come to us, they've got an exact idea in mind. They know precisely what they want. They can tell you right down to the camera angles, this is what I'm looking for. And we can do that too. But very often what happens is our customers come to us, they say, I know I want a video. I want something for my website. I want something to show my customers, but I don't know exactly what I want it to look like. Don't know what I want it to say. And if you're in that boat too, we can help you. That's one of my favorite parts is coming up with the creative ideas, thinking how can you get your message across in a way that is easy to understand, that gets people's attention, that's fun, and that meets your goals. That's the big thing.
Absolutely. Well, and I know that the more you do it, the more that you understand it. And so just relying on a professional like Derek is great. Now, like I said, I came to you with kind of I don't know. It was more of an idea. I didn't know the camera angles or the exact scene or anything like that. But when you guys put it together, I mean, it was jerking my heartstrings. I'll tell you that, because it just punctuated exactly the message that we wanted. So these guys are great at it, man. Give them a call. If you don't have a video, or if you need to refresh your video or whatever it is, give these guys a call and give them a shout. And don't forget to tune in to Celebrate Hunt County. With that, we're going to take a quick break and hear from our sponsor.
At Money Law Firm, we are dedicated and focused on being professional, personal, and proactive.
In the title business, there's a lot of paperwork, but when you walk in the door, you don't see that. You see clean, clear walls, you see very straight lines.
Everyone here is like family.
They have a great team of people. The communication is great. I send as much business as I possibly can down here because they take such great care of us. All right, welcome back, guys. And it's on to my favorite part of the show. We get to talk about numbers. You know, I'm an engineer. I love talking about numbers. So we're going to talk about this week in Hunt County. We had 34 properties listed, brand new properties on the market. That's a little bit down from last week, from 49. Again, we had 19 sold. That's a little bit down from last week with 26. And then one pending more this week at 14. And all that means is all of the option period and the contingencies are done, and it looks like that's going to be a done deal. So that's what that pending status means. Now, Ashley's added some different slides for us this week that we're going to get to, and I can't wait to get to them. Active homes on the market this week, 264, down from 277. That's completely normal to see this time of year. The market kind of starts tapering off as people get into Halloween, and then, you know, we have Thanksgiving and Christmas. Or if you've been to Walmart in the last month, you can see how they're just throwing all that stuff together at the same time as
they're
one
going to have
holiday.
Easter there next week.
I bet they will. So total sold in the last 7 days, 13,170,000. That's just Hunt County.
Wow.
And last week, she's got the arrow going in the wrong direction there, but last week was 9.6 million. So up from last week on total sold dollars, even though the total sold number of homes was down. So you can see that that's the reason that the average price is at 387, 320 versus that between 230 and 260 that we normally see here in Hunt County. So here's the slides that were added that I was telling you about. This looks like the last 3 months in real estate. So you can see August was 47 million total in Hunt County. September, 51.5 million. October, 45.3 million. So you can see that September was actually kind of a peak there, which I think is a little bit strange, but we've seen stranger things, I guess, in COVID. So September, we usually have a little bit of a lull in closings because people in August are sending their kids back to school. So we don't get as many phone calls in August. So that usually translates 30 days down the road. So obviously not the way it went this year. And then you can see the average price has been gradually going up from 279,000 up to 336,000.
I would say that's not gradual. That's in 3 months. That's a big jump. Is it a few expensive ones that's kind of skewing it up, or is it really?
It really is. There's been some higher priced stuff selling lately, and you have to understand we're kind of getting into that area of the year where there's a lot of investors that are rapidly trying to spend their money. And in fact, October 15th this year was when all returns were due. That was like, you can't extend anymore. All returns were due. And at that time, you're kind of talking to your accountant and forecasting for the next year, and you're trying to plan that last quarter of the year. And so a lot of investors, we see, and we were talking about this on the show just a couple weeks ago, but we've just seen an influx in the, I guess, in the inquiry from commercial people, whether it be commercial properties or investors that are looking at single family. But also, when you look at the landscape of what the market actually looks like. We're just giving you some numbers here, but when you really break it down and what that inventory actually looks like, all the good properties are at the very top of the scale. You know, we don't have any really good properties kind of mid-scale that everybody's looking for, and so that's forcing people to bump their budgets up to buy the properties that are more desirable.
Now, when you talk about investors, are these mainly local, like mom and pop, who have a few rental houses, or are these big national companies buying them up like crazy?
I think you see both, and I don't know about big national companies, but definitely some out-of-state people. We have several clients of our own that are out of state, but they own multiple rent houses here in Northeast Texas. And they're now, instead of looking at single family homes, they're looking at multifamily or commercial or just larger properties in general, right? Because the single family homes that are on the market that are desirable for them to be rentals are priced kind of out of where they would be desirable to be a rent house. You see what I'm saying? So the dollar spent versus the dollar in rent is just not there for them. And so if those bigger guys are looking at, larger properties, that means these guys that are just got one or two, or maybe trying to get into their first rental property, they're having to buy bigger or more expensive properties as well. It's just across the board, just because of the way inventory is. So we have the next slide here is, did I change it? Uh-oh. I got stuck. Okay, so here's this is the last 3 years. So October for 3 years in a row, starting in 2019, 30 million sold with 108 houses. You see where our average is there, 278. Ticked down slightly last year, even though the total sold price was up, the number of solds were up as well, and so that average price kicked down to 246,000. And then October of this year, which we've already talked about, 134 homes sold, 45 million. And 336,000 on average. Now, I'll tell you, I believe that October 2021 price can change. MLS is where we get these numbers, the multiple listing service that we're all members of as realtors. You have 3 days after a house closes to change that status on the MLS. So 3 days from now, that number could be slightly different for houses that did close in October but have not been recorded that way on the MLS yet. So I'm curious to see what will that do? Will that, obviously that would increase the sold price, but what's that going to do to the average price? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. The other thing I'm noticing, 2019, I consider a pretty good real estate market as an outsider, right? It was reasonably strong.
Too.
There was no big crash.
Yeah.
We're up, 50% in the dollar amount sold compared to 2 years ago. That is just mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing, and I think you have multiple things going on there. I mean, so you have COVID, right? So a lot of people were locked down, and then all of a sudden, so they didn't look for a house during that time. And now all of a sudden they're on the market looking for a home, right? And then you have another COVID factor where people in the Metroplex or in other metropolitan areas around the country are looking at Greenville and going, wow, this is in close proximity to a Metroplex, but I'm not where there's going to be as many restrictions, and I can have more land for the same amount of money. I can be further from my neighbor, and there's all these outdoor things to do around here in Northeast Texas especially. I mean, we have some great parks in the city of Greenville, and then we're just minutes from just about any lake that you want to go to, any kind of lake. So
now, I know nationally, because of COVID, a lot of people were leaving the city centers and going out to rural areas.
Absolutely.
Because when you can telecommute, you don't have to go into the office anymore. It doesn't really matter if you're close to downtown or not.
And we're seeing so many of that. And so that has changed the outlook of what people were looking for. For several years there, people were really looking for a 3-2, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And offices, I would say fewer than 50% of our clients were looking for an office space. And now it's almost 90% of our clients are looking for an office space. So that, like you said, so they could work from home. I mean, even Ashley and I, we live very close to the office, but when we bought a house, we were very specific about having to have an office space in the house so that we could do some work from home without having to set up on the kitchen table with a laptop, So I think you have two real COVID factors there that have changed things this year. And then you just have some pure inflation that is causing some of these numbers, where things are just more expensive. The new homes are becoming more expensive, so therefore the homes that have been previously lived in are going to be more expensive. So you have a short supply and a long demand, plus inflation, seeing what new builds are doing. And I think it's just a stacking of dominoes there is really what has caused that. So I don't think there's any one factor we can point at and go, this is why that average has ticked up so much. And I think that any one of those things only moved that needle a little bit. We could probably talk about 6 other things that moved the needle a little bit too, but those are really the big ones. You have 2 large factors from COVID, and then just the fact that building a house is becoming more expensive, so that makes a pre-built home worth more.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I think the question, the journalist in me has to ask the tough questions, right?
Sure.
Everybody out there is wondering, is this what happened in 2007, 2008? You see the dramatic run up.
Right.
And I'm seeing permanent things happening in the market. It's not going to get any cheaper to build a new house, right?
No. Well, so we saw building materials really inflate. And one of the things that we kind of kept our eye on to kind of keep our pulse on that, because we do more than just buy and sell real estate. Ashley and I are investors, we're builders, we're remodelers. If it's real estate, we do it, and we have had our own construction crew in the past. So 3/4 inch plywood decking. It's a real common thing when you're building a house, especially around here. If you're remodeling one, you're either going to be using it on the roof or you're going to be using it on the subfloor for a pier and beam or for a block foundation house. And we saw that go from about $27 a sheet before COVID all the way up to over $90 a sheet. And then most recently we looked, and it's back down about $31 a sheet. So it's really right at about a 10% increase. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of where everything is going to stabilize building material wise. Is we're never going to see those pre-COVID prices. We're going to see about a 10% increase overall in building material prices. Labor is a completely different story. It's about 20% higher, I think, across the board. So those are permanent things that are going to happen.
And I tend to think the COVID stuff is going to be permanent too. Nobody's going to want to go back to the office if they can avoid it, and companies aren't going to want to pay rent for these big office spaces like they used to in the past.
And we've read both local and national headlines that talk about the fact that companies, once they sent their workers home for COVID, they had a happier workforce, because I don't know about you, but I get pretty irritable fighting traffic. It's just like one of the least favorite places for me to be is in traffic. So they had a happier workforce. They had a more productive workforce. And, they didn't have to deal with office spaces, office drama, parking spaces. Mm-hmm. And they even were talking about, I think one thing that I read was almost 33% decrease in the number of HR requests for a lot of these large companies that have sent their workforce home. So that's a huge change in the landscape of what commercial people are doing. And that's why you might say, Tracy, you're saying that all of this commercial stuff is, warming up and people are getting really hot on it. But what we hear time after time after time from people that are calling, that are looking for commercial, don't give me office space. I'll buy anything commercial, but I will not buy office space. And I think that is a permanent change in the landscape of America. And I think it's a good thing. It puts families back together. Mm-hmm. How many people do we know locally that commute, that spend, 3 or more hours in a car every day to get back and forth to work? And that is just taking that 3 hours away. That's family time that you'll never get back. And so I think a lot of it is a good change. People are able to be more independent. They're less tied to the office. Mm-hmm. Corporations, they're going to see pretty good cut in what their expenditures are, right? Because office spaces are expensive. They're expensive to operate. They're expensive to own. They're expensive to lease. So I think some of these are good things. But some of the other permanent stuff I think that you're talking about that we have to touch on if we're talking about this subject is just the way some of the lending is done, right? So when we saw the crash in 2008, there were a lot of people that were getting 40-year mortgages. They were getting 0% mortgages. They were getting zero down mortgages. They were moving in just as quick as they could. And we're not really seeing that. We're not seeing a relaxed, mortgage atmosphere. And then we can even talk about appraisals. And I'm sure that if there's any realtors watching right now, I mentioned the word appraiser, they kind of like a cat with water. Because there's just this big contingency, it feels like, between realtors and appraisers, because realtors are looking at market data. It's the same ones that appraisers use too, but appraisers are being very cautious. They're not just giving you that asking price on an appraisal. They're actually going out and comparing it to market data and saying, yes, the market supports this price. And so as long as we're being smart about that and the banks aren't overlending on a property, then people are coming in with equity. A lot of these people are still saying, okay, well, the appraisal came in $20,000 short. I'm going to bring another $20,000 to the table because I want this house. So they're moving in with equity, where before they were moving in with zero equity in 2008. So
huge difference.
Huge difference. It's a lot easier to get up and walk away from something you have no ownership in technically because you haven't put the dollars in than it is for something that if I'm talking about you're putting $20,000 extra down, a lot of these people are having to come to the table with $80,000 or, around $80,000, So you think about your down payment plus whatever your closing costs are, plus that extra 20 grand, you're bringing a substantial amount of money to the table. And it's a lot harder for people to walk away from that. you know, and it's especially, I think, being uniquely centered here in Hunt County with the influence from the Metroplex, being just far enough outside of the Metroplex that it's desirable for people that are moving in from out of state as well. Our communities are growing rapidly. And as long as there is a high demand, even if the rest of the country sees a crash, which I don't think they will, or a lull in prices, I don't think we'll be as affected here.
Yeah, the same was true in 07 and 08. It wasn't near as bad here as it was in a lot of
Well,
places.
for most, when we go back and look at the data, for most people in Northeast Texas, it was almost a flat line, which technically means you're losing a little bit of equity due to inflation. But their property's almost flatline. But there was a few hand-picked areas around the Metroplex, where they did lose a lot of money. Highland Park was one of those that they lost a lot of equity in 2008, which was not the normal for here. But when you get into those exclusive neighborhoods, of course, it's going to be different for you than it is going to be for the grand majority, right? So, but I think people should expect that when they move into those kinds of neighborhoods, because you know, if it's an exclusive neighborhood or it's a really, really expensive neighborhood to live in, you're going to have fewer people that can buy it. Which, when you buy it, which means there's going to be fewer people that can buy it when you're ready to sell it. So it's going to make a huge impact. But I think you're right. I think we're seeing some permanent changes, and I don't think we're seeing a crash coming. If there's anything that's going to come, it's not going to be like a big bubble burst. We're just going to stop seeing the houses increase at such a rapid pace, you know. And I think though that if we just went back to what I would consider normal, which would be about a 3 to 5% increase year over year, people are going to see that as a huge negative, you know. But they're so short-sighted.
A good thing.
Right.
And to me, it also depends on how long is the Fed going to keep pumping out money. They've been pushing so much liquidity into the system. We see that in the prices going up.
Right.
So if they keep doing that, housing is a great place to park your money. You know, right?
It is. Well, and honestly, we're hearing some chattering. The Fed is not going to keep doing that. There's going to be some rate increases coming, which is going to slow down mortgages some. But I think there are a few people out there we've been hearing from that are far more fearful than they should be. I think that people are still going to want homes. People are still going to want that lending. And I mean, we're talking about right now, a majority of our clients are looking at like 4.25% interest, something like that. Wouldn't you say? I think it's about 4.25% interest. So when you start seeing those 5s and 6s again, there's going to be a little bit of shock up front, and there could be a little bit, 30-day layoff period or something like that, where people are just kind of laying back off of real estate. But I think they'll realize it's a new normal, and they'll just come right back in. Okay, the Fed's not going to change anymore. 6% can still work in my budget. So there's always going to be kind of the shock factor, but I don't think it's going to be detrimental to the market or to the value of your home that you have now. I don't really believe that.
Yeah, if anything, I think it'd be a little healthy. Things have felt kind of out of whack the last couple of years, and
people don't like hearing my opinion on this, but as long as the Fed is lending money at lower than whatever our inflation rate is currently, that means that the American people are subsidizing the mortgage market, right? So a lot of people don't like hearing that. So what does that mean? That means that, I don't know what inflation is today, but that means that a healthy interest rate is probably closer to 10% today. I would have said 6.5% a few years ago, but inflation has definitely started to catch up with that. But somewhere between 8 and 10%, I think that would indicate a healthy mortgage market. People don't like hearing that, because it costs them money. So let's talk about some of the new stuff that came on the market. 2508 Bliss Street here in Greenville came on the market at $205. I think this is going to be one of those homes in a neighborhood. You see the mature tree there and fresh paint. I think that this is going to be a house that's not going to last long. It's going to be one of those that goes pretty quick. It's going to be very desirable. Looks like it's been flipped. I'll go inside, and I actually love this color blue cabinets. Some people may shrink from it, but I love those cabinets. If you're going to paint them a color, I prefer this over gray personally. And then you have the marble and then the flat top stove, and people are really loving these sleek designs of the what do you call that? The Ventahood.
Yeah, that's super cool. It combines the modern and kind of the farmhouse look with that.
Absolutely does.
What is it, shiplap on the side?
Yes, sir. Right there on the
gorgeous
side. And then a custom shower surround here in the bathroom. You can see another angle of it there.
Love it.
Some more granite. And then looks like a pretty spacious backyard too. So looks like they painted the brick all the way around. So if you'd like to take a look at it, just give our office a call, and we'd love to show it to you. I'm going to move on here to Commerce at 2612 Tanglewood. This is in a pretty quiet neighborhood in Commerce. I don't know if you're familiar with Tanglewood Drive or not.
It's a nice area.
It's a
Yeah, we
very
used to
nice
live over there
area.
in Commerce.
Well, I actually grew up trick-or-treating this area.
Oh, very cool.
My grandmother lives just right around the corner there, and so this is kind of a special neighborhood to me, but it's a very quiet neighborhood, and I think this is going to be a great home for somebody in Commerce. I know a lot of these houses had the same builder, and I can tell you that this house has really been opened up. They were pretty closed off back then. These were built in the 70s, and most of the houses over there, the kitchen and dining room and living room were all really 3 separate rooms. But somebody has really opened this one up and done a great job, and I think it looks phenomenal. It's ready just in time for the holidays here, for you to have your holiday party and all your family there. I can see the Christmas tree and
That
all the
fireplace is
presents.
gorgeous.
Absolutely,
Absolutely
that
love it.
fireplace is going to be great. I
Yeah.
mean, plenty of room there to do whatever you want to do. And I love that they've gone with the water plank looking flooring. It looks like LVP from here, but they've gone with the full width plank flooring, and I really love what that does with the room, and helps the room just feel that much bigger.
And I love that vinyl plank flooring too.
I
I was
love it.
skeptical when it first came out. I thought that stuff was going to be junk and would peel up, but we've had really good luck, especially in wet areas like a kitchen. You
Right.
put that flooring down, it looks like wood, but you don't have any issues with water damage if you spill a pot of water on it or something.
Absolutely. A lot of the stuff we put in a lot of our rent houses, we've had it in our personal house. They have 30 to 50 year warranty depending on what you get. And what I love about it, it's a flooring that you can literally put completely throughout your house. You can put it in your washroom, you can put it in your mudroom, you can put it in your kitchen like you were talking about, you can put it in your bathroom. You can have one cohesive flooring throughout the entire house if that's what you desire. And then there's no lips, there's no transitions. I mean, it's just one great flat floor.
Right. And to be clear, we don't know exactly what that is.
We
in the
don't know
picture.
exactly what that
But it
is.
looks like
We're
that, and-
anticipating that it is.
Yep, and it's a great floor.
It's a great product. And I love here, this bathroom, they've done a little bit differently. The vertical tile on the wall there, you don't see that often,
That's
but
cool.
I think
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
different.
great. I think it looks great. So that's 2612 Tanglewood. They all have very spacious backyards over there in Commerce. So give us a call if you'd like to take a look at that one. And we're going to move on here to 6433 Highway 34 in Wolf City. Now, we looked through this before the show started, and I don't know if you heard me, but I was kind of oohing and ahhing going through this one because it's a gorgeous place on a gorgeous property. It's right at 4,000 square feet here,
What's the list price on it?
2.4 million.
Okay.
So it's a big one. This is one of those properties you were saying that's going to help
Oh wow.
tick that
yeah, that's
sold
gonna
price up.
cause the average to go up. Justifiably so. Man, that's gorgeous.
But you're talking about cost. I mean, do you realize what it costs just to put that ceiling in with those box beams and the stained wood ceiling? I mean, it takes a lot of work. There was a lot of labor involved there. So
Yeah, did you see the lighting, the recessed lighting under the
absolutely,
bottom edge of it? Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's just gorgeous. And then this beautifully crafted kitchen here, and I love it when they do this. They have this custom cover basically that goes over the vent hood and helps that kind of blend in with the cabinetry. I love when they do that. And then the farmhouse chandelier over the island there. I mean, it's great, man. I can't find any negatives in there.
Yeah, what I love about it, a lot of these really big, spacious houses, they feel. Trying to think of the right word here. They feel too open, too big, too echoey, that kind of thing.
Too
This looks
commercial,
warm
yes.
and homey.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
it
it's a
does.
huge house, but it looks warm and homey. It doesn't look, too
like a banquet hall.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a banquet hall. Exactly.
Yeah, I get you, man. No, and then the window that you can see out from the dining room there is it's amazing. So you can get a view of that gorgeous property. There's a pond out there that kind of you overlook. And then bringing the brick in, I think that's something that we lost for a couple of decades maybe. But bringing that brick in, I just love it. I love the texture it brings. And people probably don't realize this, but when you have a big open space, you have to do some things that are going to help reduce that echoing, right? And having a brick that is textured like that is really going to help absorb some of the sound. Maybe not as well as foam on the wall or something like that, but it's definitely better than having just a flat surface.
Yeah.
And look at this bathroom, man.
Oh man, that's gorgeous.
That's huge. Like I can only imagine all of Ashley's things out there and how quick that would, she could clutter it up. She could clutter up anything, honestly, if you give her long enough. But man, there's plenty of space there. Look at that fan. Built-in bunks.
Yeah, look at the woodwork around the window. Everything, it reminds me of old houses.
Right.
You know, the quality you see in older houses is so much better than most of the mass-produced houses now.
Because we don't spend the time and the money on the craftsmanship that
Right,
goes
somebody
in around
did
it.
on this house.
Absolutely did.
And, oh man, it's gorgeous. They have some very talented woodworkers.
My kids would love
carpenters.
those bunk beds. Absolutely. They would go crazy for those.
All built in.
Absolutely. And then here's your outdoor space. It's just that same ceiling line brought all the way outside with your grill area over there. There's a TV. I mean, I can imagine. We have every Tuesday, I have basically my whole family at my house, and I can just imagine us really enjoying this out here.
Yeah. Looks like a nice resort, you know,
It
the
almost
kind of place
does
you
look
take
like a
your
resort.
family to on vacation, but you got it all
Absolutely.
the time.
Absolutely.
And that land near Wolf City is just gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. It is gorgeous. And there's that pond just out back.
Looks like a
You
lake
can
from
see
that angle.
it does look like a
Man.
lake, and you can see that it's some sandier loam there, so it's not the black land that you would expect going towards Wolf City. There is one area out there, kind of between Celeste and Wolf City, out where the country club is, that really has some sandy soil. Beautiful place. Beautiful place. Only 2.4 million. So it's just
like 2 or
change,
3,
just change for a guy like you, Derek, right?
Oh, I wish. Man, that's
I think we're going to
gorgeous.
move into the solds now. So here's our first sold. This is on FM 512. It was listed at $729. Did not spend much time on the market at all. In fact, I'm trying to change my page here to tell you. Let's see here. Yeah, 4 days on the market,
Wow.
and it sold very close to list price. So
And I see why. Really cute place.
really cute place. Not very different. A little smaller, but not very different than what we were just looking at, honestly. Our next sold here is on Private Road 3126 here in Greenville. It was listed at $600,000, sold very close to asking price, and only 9 days on the market. Only 9 days. This is
That's amazing.
3,300 square feet on 2 acres. I mean, this is the kind of properties we get calls for all the time. I just want a house, 3,000 square foot on a couple of acres. I mean, it's a very common ask for this guy. And now here's one on Patterson Street in Campbell, listed at $185,000. Only spent a little bit of time. I don't have the info, the fact sheet on this one. I don't know how many days it was on the market. Not very long, I'm sure. And sold very close to the asking price again. So
I love that. It reminds me of Cape Cod. You ever go there? They got all the shingle houses
haven't
right
been
by
to
the
Cape
beach.
Cod,
It is
no.
a cool place to visit, and it's just got these charming, cute little houses, and that reminds me a lot of that
well,
style.
and so this is like painted cedar shakes now, and but they actually have a product that is LP Smart Side that actually mimics this look.
Oh, how cool.
And so it has some offset shingle shapes on there and the texture and all that. So if you wanted this look on your house, you could actually get it. And I've seen there's a few around. Next time I see one, I'll take a picture and send it to you, where they've done just the eave, in that style. And it's gorgeous, man. It just kind of brings that texture you were talking about, the
Kind of classic
craftsmanship.
Americana.
Yeah, right back into real estate. So anyway, that does it for our show. If you'd like to sponsor our show, or would like to be a guest, or know somebody that make a great guest on our show, just contact Casey Ralston. Right there is her email address and the phone number. Give her a call, and we'd love to have you on. But until next week, it was great having you, Derek. We
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you.
me.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Have a great week, Hunt County.
Family is very important to us, and that's why we wanted to bring family to our business.
We tell folks that at Home Texas Real Estate, we work as a team, and we're all working together to try to sell your house, or we're all working together to help you find the right one that you want to buy.
With At Home Texas Real Estate, it's our family helping your family.